Have you ever noticed that the moment you start thinking for yourself, the world begins to turn against you? The sharpest minds throughout history weren't celebrated in their time. They were ridiculed, exiled, sometimes killed. And today, nothing has changed. We just wear different masks. Intelligence in a world of fools isn't a gift. It's a curse wrapped in isolation, because when everyone around you is comfortably numb, your awakening becomes their threat. They don't hate you for being wrong. They hate you for being right when it's inconvenient, for seeing what they refuse to see, for asking questions they've spent their entire lives avoiding. And so, the punishment begins, not with chains or prisons, but with something far more insidious: silence, mockery, and exclusion. The intelligent are exiled not from countries but from conversations, not from cities, but from circles of belonging. This is the world we live in, a world where mediocrity is rewarded because it doesn't disturb the comfortable lie. A world where intelligence is punished because it exposes the uncomfortable truth. Let's go deeper. Why does this happen? Why does society, which claims to value knowledge and progress, systematically punish those who embody it? The answer lies in a fundamental human contradiction. We say we want truth, but what we really want is comfort. We say we admire thinkers, but only the dead ones, the ones whose ideas no longer challenge our way of life. The living thinker, the one questioning our current beliefs, our systems, our sacred cows, that person becomes dangerous. Think about Socrates, the man who gave us the Socratic method, who taught Athens to think critically, was sentenced to death. His crime? Corrupting the youth. But what he really did was teach people to question authority, to examine their beliefs, to think independently, and for that, he was given hemlock. Galileo spent his final years under house arrest for daring to say the earth revolves around the sun. Darwin was vilified for observing what nature showed him. Even today, we celebrate these names in textbooks, but would we celebrate them if they lived next door? Or would we call them arrogant, difficult, troublemakers? The pattern is ancient and persistent. Intelligence threatens the status quo because intelligence asks why. And why is the most dangerous question in any society built on unexamined assumptions. When you ask why we work jobs that drain our souls, why we pursue success that leaves us empty, why we follow rules that no longer serve us, you become a problem. Not because you're wrong, but because if you're right, then everyone else has been living a lie. And people will defend their lies more fiercely than they'll ever pursue the truth. This is where the punishment manifests. It's subtle at first. Your ideas are dismissed as impractical. Your observations are labeled as overthinking. Your concerns are called negativity. You're told to stop being so serious, to lighten up, to just go with the flow. But you can't, because once you've seen beyond the veil, you can't unsee it. Once you've tasted intellectual honesty, comfortable delusion tastes like poison. And so you persist, and the punishment escalates. You're excluded from groups because you make people uncomfortable. Not because you're mean or cruel, but because your presence reminds them of their own unrealized potential, their own intellectual laziness, their own cowardice in the face of difficult truths. You become the mirror they don't want to look into, and so they remove the mirror. They don't engage with your ideas. They attack your character instead. They say you think you're better than everyone else, when really you're just trying to be better than you were yesterday. But here's what they don't tell you, what they can't tell you, because they don't understand it themselves. This punishment, this isolation, this rejection, it's not a sign that you're wrong. It's confirmation that you're right, because the truth has always been lonely. The truth has always walked ahead of the crowd, not behind it. Can you feel it? That specific kind of loneliness that comes from understanding things others don't. That's not weakness. That's the price of vision. You see it everywhere once you know what to look for. In workplaces where innovation is claimed, but conformity is rewarded. In relationships where depth is desired, but surface-level interaction is all that's tolerated. In social media, where everyone performs intelligence but punishes actual thought, we live in an age of unprecedented access to information, yet we've never been more hostile to genuine intellectual exploration. Why? Because information is easy, thinking is hard, and thinking independently is terrifying. The fool in modern society isn't the person who lacks information. The fool is the person who has information but refuses to think about it, to question it, to integrate it into a coherent worldview. The fool is the person who repeats what they've been told without examining whether it's true. The fool is the person who mistakes credentials for wisdom, popularity for truth, consensus for correctness. And our society is full of credentialed fools, popular fools, fools who travel in packs and call it community. And when you stand apart from this, when you insist on thinking for yourself, you pay a price. You're called arrogant for not accepting conventional wisdom. You're called cynical for questioning motives. You're called divisive for refusing to pretend we all agree. But these are just labels designed to make you conform. They're social weapons wielded by those who benefit from your compliance. And they work. They work because humans are tribal creatures who fear exclusion more than they love truth. This is the mechanism of punishment. It's psychological, social, economic. The intelligent person who questions corporate culture doesn't get promoted. The intelligent person who challenges social norms doesn't get invited. The intelligent person who refuses to play along doesn't get the rewards that make life comfortable. And so, faced with this choice between truth and comfort, between integrity and belonging, most people choose comfort. They choose belonging. They choose to put their intelligence to sleep rather than lose their place in the tribe. If you felt this pull, this pressure to dim your light, to pretend you don't see what you see, to laugh at jokes that aren't funny and nod at statements that aren't true, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're not alone in this experience. Every person who has ever thought deeply, questioned sincerely, or refused to accept easy answers has felt it. This is your confirmation that you're on a path few dare to walk. If this resonates with you, if you felt this specific kind of alienation that comes from seeing too clearly, then stay with me. Subscribe to this journey we're taking together, because what I'm about to share next will change how you see this punishment entirely. It will transform it from a burden into a gift. Here's the shift. What if the punishment isn't something happening to you, but something happening for you? What if being rejected by a society of fools is actually the universe's way of protecting your intelligence, of ensuring you don't waste it on people and systems that would drain it without appreciation? Think about it. If society rewarded your intelligence, you would use it to climb their ladder, to win their games, to achieve their version of success. You would become intelligent in service of foolishness. You would optimize a broken system rather than transcend it. But because you're punished, because you're excluded, you're forced to create your own path. You're forced to define success on your own terms. You're forced to build a life that honors your intelligence rather than suppresses it. The punishment is painful, yes, but it's also protective. It keeps you from selling your birthright for a bowl of soup, from trading your unique vision for a comfortable spot in someone else's delusion. The ancient Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. Your exclusion from foolish circles is the very thing that qualifies you for wise ones. Your rejection by people who don't value thinking is what drives you toward people who do. Every closed door, every lost friendship, every opportunity that vanished because you wouldn't compromise your integrity, these aren't failures. They're filters. They're the universe's quality control, ensuring you end up where you actually belong, rather than where you temporarily fit. But this requires a radical reframe. It requires you to stop seeking validation from those who cannot provide it, to stop trying to make people understand who lack the capacity or willingness to understand. It requires you to embrace what the Buddha called right solitude, The aloneness that isn't loneliness, but rather wholeness. Because you cannot be whole while fragmenting yourself to fit into spaces too small for your mind. This is where the practical wisdom emerges. First, you must stop punishing yourself for being punished. Stop thinking something is wrong with you because others don't appreciate your depth. The problem isn't your intelligence. The problem is their lack of it. And that's not arrogance, that's discernment. You must learn to distinguish between humility and self-abandonment. Humility is recognizing you don't know everything. Self-abandonment is pretending you don't know what you clearly do know just to make others comfortable. Second, you must find your tribe. They exist. The people who value thought, who celebrate questions, who honor intellectual honesty, they're out there. But you won't find them by dumbing yourself down. You'll find them by showing up fully as who you are, by speaking your truth even when it's unpopular, by asking difficult questions even when they're unwelcome. Your people will recognize you by your refusal to pretend. The very things that get you punished in foolish circles will get you celebrated in wise ones. Third, you must develop what Nietzsche called the courage to be misunderstood. Most people are so afraid of being seen as wrong, as weird, as different, that they conform to mediocrity. But the price of avoiding misunderstanding is never being truly understood, because to be understood deeply, you must first be willing to be misunderstood widely. You must be willing to have your words twisted, your intentions questioned, your character attacked. This is the cost of admission to authentic intellectual life. Fourth, and this is crucial, you must use your intelligence wisely, not to win arguments, not to prove others wrong, not to feel superior. These are the traps of ego masquerading as intellect. True intelligence is used to illuminate, to liberate, to serve truth. It's used with compassion for those still trapped in comfortable lies, because you were once trapped too. It's used with patience for those moving more slowly, because the awakening cannot be rushed. It's used with humility, remembering that intelligence is a gift you discovered, not a trophy you earned. But here's the secret that the wise throughout ages have protected. The deepest intelligence isn't about knowing more facts or winning more debates. The deepest intelligence is about understanding the relationship between knowing and being, between thought and presence, between mind and reality itself. Most people use intelligence to acquire more knowledge, more success, more validation. But the truly intelligent use it to release more, to release false beliefs, unnecessary suffering, the weight of others, expectations. They understand that the highest function of intelligence isn't to add complexity, but to reveal simplicity, not to build elaborate theories, but to see through them to what's actually true. Not to become smarter than others, but to become free from the need to be anything at all. This is why the mystics and sages often appeared simple, even foolish, to the clever people of their time. Because they had used their intelligence to transcend intelligence itself, to reach a place where truth is lived, rather than merely thought. They had discovered what lies beyond the mind's games, beyond the endless loop of question and answer, beyond the punishment and reward of society's judgment. And this is available to you. Not someday, not after you've read enough books or won enough arguments or proven yourself enough times. Right now, in this moment. You can choose to stop seeking approval from fools and start trusting the intelligence that brought you here, to these words, to this understanding, to this moment of recognition. You can choose to see your punishment not as rejection, but as redirection, not as a sign you're wrong, but as confirmation you're on the right path. Because in the end, the society of fools will always punish intelligence. This is not a bug, it's a feature. It's how reality ensures that those with eyes to see don't waste their vision on those determined to remain blind. It's how the universe protects its most precious resource, the awakened mind, from being consumed by the sleeping masses. You were never meant to fit in down there. You were meant to climb higher, and every punishment, every rejection, every moment of isolation was actually a push upward, a force moving you toward your true altitude. So let them punish you. Let them exclude you. Let them call you arrogant, difficult, too much. Because while they're busy doing that, you'll be busy becoming who you actually are. Not who they need you to be. Not who the system rewards, but who your deepest intelligence knows you can become. And that person, that awakened, authentic, intellectually honest person, they don't need society's approval. They are the approval. They are the light in the darkness. They are the reason consciousness evolved in the first place. This is your inheritance, not comfort, not belonging, but truth. And truth, unlike approval, can never be taken away. If this message found you at exactly the moment you needed to hear it, that's not coincidence, that's recognition. Your intelligence recognizing itself in these words. Honor that. Like this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder that their alienation is actually their initiation. Subscribe and join those of us walking this path together, not in loneliness, but in the profound company of those who refuse to sleep. The journey continues. The question is, will you?